Good evening, everybody. Another Monday night with bees all day from the Shenandoah Valley. Yeah, it's 27 degrees here tonight. Tomorrow they're calling for it to be 57 degrees. Bees will be flying. So we had pretty good weather today. It was in the 20s. A lot of snow melted. Hey, Chris, how are you? Wildwood, Highland, how are you? Dodd's in here. I've been conversing with Keith and everybody, and let's all hope Clay feels better tomorrow. He had a little bit of a spill today. There's Eugene, he's in here tonight. Eric, Jeremy, Roy's in here somewhere. I saw him earlier. So, yep, it's going to be a good week. Looking forward to Eastern Missouri. There's Perico Bico. Joe, how are you tonight? Wildwood, good to see you in here. So it's going to be a good trip to Missouri next week. So Charlie and I are driving together. It's going to be an adventure. You never know what might happen. There's Flower Street. And let's see, I saw somebody else. There's Pennsylvania, Flower Street here. There's Mike from Vermont. How are you tonight? There's Todd. Hey, Todd, how are you tonight? So it's going to be fun. I understand Midwest went well for everybody that was there. Everybody had fun. Hey, Bill Lee, how are you tonight? Yeah, the weather does sound good tomorrow, doesn't it? So we'll see. Jack and Danette, how are you tonight? So, yep, there's Charlie. I got to drop the link. So, y'all hang on a minute here. I missed it. All right, the link is pinned. Charlie is in here. Here comes the man, the myth, the legend. Charlie, small me old Charlie. So I can't hear you, buddy.
I can. I just turned the thing on.
Okay.
Hey, Bob.
So
Hi.
we
What was
I saw your Facebook post. I think it's going to be an adventure going out there.
mine or what?
Huh?
You say mine or?
Yeah, I saw your Facebook post. It's going to be, I think it's going to be fun going out there. It's going to be a good trip.
Yeah. I think so. Haven't been there. It's something new.
Yep.
Hey, Dot. And it's to me, I think it's going to be a miniature knobby, in my opinion. A lot of good people that we all know from here in the chats.
Yep.
And good speakers out there from what I could, kind of what I remember what the lineup is. I do know.
Yeah.
And all that. I know the Midwest conference was this past weekend. I don't know. I've seen a lot of video, not so much videos, but pictures of it, and I don't know how. It didn't seem like it was attended. Some of the shots that I seen as much as I thought it would be.
Yeah, I don't know. Michael said it was a pretty good turnout on his couple of his posts, and he had some good pictures. And
I was wondering whether the weather kind of played part of that.
Yeah, I think it did. So Larry Dustin's in here.
Here's Clay.
Yeah.
Would you say Clay had a fell or something?
Clay had a little bit of a spill today. So he hurt his back and his knee. I think he said his shoulder or his ribs or something as well. So
Mhm. Hey, Sonia.
everybody's kind of showing Clay a little bit of sympathy tonight, which is
Okay.
good. So he needs some sticks to help him keep upright, stay upright.
I got some crutches on.
That's what he needs. I got some if you want to borrow them, Clay. I'll be glad to lend them to you. There's Flower Street.
Yeah, it was still cold up here today. It melted slightly.
Yeah.
If it was in the sun, I'll put it to you that way. And I watched the news tonight, and we're going to supposedly hit 40 tomorrow.
We're supposed to be 57 degrees here tomorrow.
Really?
Yep.
Where ours is pretty much, hey, Chris.
Yes, we will, Chris.
Yep, we're going to be at the NBA dinner. Yeah, the after party.
Yep.
And then also, yes, the EMBA banquet dinner, I guess you would call it. I call it a banquet dinner.
Yep.
Got my tickets for that. I'll say mostly in the 40s. Saturday, I'll say like 47, something of that nature, 45 to 47.
Yep.
So maybe we'll get some meltdown here a little bit. I don't know whether to go out there tomorrow and check the feed or wait till Saturday. I'm going to the state beekeeping meeting for Maryland here, and it's more of a half a day, a briefing type of thing. I guess that's what you would call it. I don't know. They're going to do some Queen talks there. I guess these folks are going to be zooming in. You got Corey Stevens, you got Robin Underwood from Penn State, and you got a local paper certified master beekeeper, Russell Spangler. And so we'll see. Not sure just what they're going to talk about. I mean, they're going to talk about queens, obviously, but maybe.
Yeah.
But what I was getting at was it's about an hour from my house, and it's like, okay, Saturday is going to be the highest heat day there is. I definitely want to get into my hives and check food by then because I want to get the food in, fondant, pollen patties, whatever. So, because next week we're all heading out the door, out to Missouri. I wanted, they'll have plenty of food for the next week. I don't want to put it in earlier this week. So I'm, they have something here about AI and honeybee keeping. And I read up the thing, and it basically is like, all these gadgets where they count the bees going in and, all this computer stuff as far as I'll say data gathering and all that stuff. And I'm like, it's like, that's going to start at 12:30. And I'm like, maybe I need to pack my bags and get the heck home and take care of the bees. And the rest of it is, closing remarks and that kind of stuff. So nothing earth shattering there, but maybe I'll see a few people. Yeah. I don't know if Ryan's on here. Hey, Sandy. Maybe, I don't know whether he's going to be going to that or not. Probably not.
What's that?
Ryan, it's close to where he lives. It's close to, it's on the other side of Baltimore. So I don't know. Maybe that's probably about an hour and a half drive for him, maybe 2 hours at the most.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's in Maryland. But, so that's something coming up for me as far as, information and whatever. Of course, the state inspector will be there. She lives close to me. Gonna have something here something about AAA laps. I don't know why everybody's getting all wound up about that. It's like the only people that really need to be really into it, I would say, is the science community trying to figure out what they can do for us, because we ain't going to be able to figure nothing out until it gets here, and hopefully they have the tools for us to take care of that situation.
Yeah, they've been working on it now for a couple of years.
Yeah, already. I know Sammy Ramsey's been working on it. I don't know. Our different clubs and states have been funding him for the last, I'll say, 3 years.
Yep.
And it's up to those guys. I mean, it's been nice to, we know about it. Maybe I need. Well, I'll tell you more about it after I get listening to it. Maybe I get a little more enlightened.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of information out there about it. I did a blog on my website with the information that all the information I could find. I put it on my website under the blog. So it's a lot of good information, a lot of good ways to what treatments to use and how to use them. And they're recommending brood breaks, extended brood breaks.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is, as far as treatments, I mean, yes, they know that formic acid kills the mites and all of that, but nothing's been approved. Nothing's been set in stone as far as what we're going to be using or anything whenever it does get here. Hopefully it never gets here.
They know that Apogard and OA do not work on them.
Yeah.
They know that
as they spend most of their life
in the cell,
under the cappings and stuff like that. Yep. And then one of the other talks here for, I don't know, 15 minutes is report from ABF, American Beef Federation, and all that. But I think that was probably the same. Let's see, was that the same one in Florida, or was that the same? That was that was the one that was Brian went to when he was in Florida. That was pre-COVID or pre-Nobby. And then they had another one here at the same.
The one in Florida was the Honey Packers.
Okay. That was AHP, I guess, American Honey Packers. So
yeah.
Where was AF or ABF?
ABF was in
Colorado or California?
No. I want to say it was in Alabama or Arkansas, one of the two.
I think it was Alabama.
Yeah. So, two different organizations.
All right, we want to pop up via Honeybees there. They got an announcement for everybody that's going.
So via Honeybees, get your EMBA workshop tickets as soon as possible. I have to turn in lunch orders this week. We have 20 plus raffle items, and some of them are pretty exciting. So don't forget, Tom and Melissa, I'm bringing one with me. So don't forget about that.
I got all my tickets, everything, and all that.
And also, I'm bringing your frames out there when I come. So we'll have a load.
Maybe a load coming back. Who never knows?
Maybe a load coming back. You never know.
So anyway, that's what they're going to be talking here. And then there's a friend of mine there, Eric. He's part of the University of Maryland Honeybee Laboratory. Talk about that kind of stuff. something to do besides sawmill.
Yeah. So I heard a rumor today that Clay was bringing his big truck with him
I
because
don't
he
know
was
what
planning on filling it up out there and coming back this way.
we talking, a box truck, or we talking?
Yeah, that's the rumor that I heard today. It was a box truck.
Maybe he's just going to stay in there instead of getting a motel room.
Hey, Tom.
So, like I say, hopefully this week things will warm up, things will run better, and I'll feel better as far as being a little bit warmer. Hopefully, get rid of some of this icy snow.
Yeah, it's supposed to be warm out there in Missouri while we're out there.
Well, even here, at least if I can get up in the 30s here and better than the teens. Uncle Junior wants to know if anybody still uses wax foundation.
I don't know. I know of a few that use it. It's getting really expensive. So I know that it's getting expensive as I don't know what. So Highland wants to come next year.
Yeah, it's Sonia. I think I'm pronouncing that right.
Shona. Am I saying it right?
Shona.
You need heat in Maine. Okay. Well, it's coming. Don't know how fast it's going to get there, feathers and flowers, but it's coming.
Yeah, that's Dot up in Maine.
Okay.
Dottie.
All right.
Well, we got it right. It's Shona. Shona. I kind of get her name mixed up with the Isaacs music group. The one girl's name is Sonia or something like that. It's very close in pronouncing.
Who's getting snow, Clay?
Probably Dot up in Maine.
Probably. My brother's supposed to get snow up in Vermont this week. As he would say, it needs to warm up to snow. So, oh man, yeah. I'm sure they are, Clay. It's cold up there still. That's a little bit too far north for me.
Well, it's like up there in North Dakota and Bismarck.
Yep.
Hey, Keith.
Wow.
So
what did you get into over the weekend, Charlie?
Well, let's see. Saturday, I tried to stay in the house, but at 11:30, a half an hour before we close, here comes 3 people in. But at least one of them, she bought 4 2-pound bottles of honey. So I sold 8 pounds of honey.
Yeah.
And then the other 2 were lumber customers. And we got them done. And it was cold. It was in the 20s, I guess. And Sunday, everything was all about football. So there wasn't any music or anything going around. So I let's see, went to Walmart. That was a mistake. And I went, there's a restaurant, I guess, in the next county over there, out in the country there, and I've been by it many times, and I never really knew what it was, or what type of place it was. And they had sent out one of them flyers of their menus and stuff. So I went down there for breakfast, and it was really nice. I had a 3 egg omelet, and it was. I'll say that a lot of times people don't know how to cook omelets, where they get kind of burnt, on the surface. And
Yep.
this one here was picture perfect, and the bacon was just right. It was nice, not crunchy, but chewy type bacon. I kind of like. And they had toast, and they had home fries, they were okay. I've
Yeah.
had, but service. I mean, it was 5 minutes. You had your food, and if it was that long, and so I went to that, and um, just kind of more or less stayed in the house all day,
Yep.
and that kind of stuff. Um, didn't didn't do too much there. Today I sold a couple 3 pound bottles of honey, another 6 pounds,
Yeah.
and they were repeat customers. Well, one of them was a repeat customer, and I think he brought his friend along, so his friend brought 3 pounds. So, and that talked some bees with them,
Yeah.
and that's pretty much. We got don't have didn't have a whole lot of work this week. Phone's not ring. Some people are looking for firewood. Some people were, they're looking for dry firewood. I'm like, forget it, buddy. You should have thought about that 6 months ago.
Yeah. Really.
Well, they want you to do everything for them. They want to be able to come to pick it off the shelf, dry firewood, all big pieces, and all that stuff. And I said, you're dreaming. My word to those folks, I said, look, you want to live like your great grandparents, you got to think like your great grandparents.
Yep.
They
You're
thought
right.
they thought 6 months to a year in advance.
Yep.
Just,
You're
just
right.
like just like beekeeping. It's like you think now for next year as far as
Yeah.
getting, you're stocking up on miticides. Like if you go to Navi or something like that, you look at that and say, okay, I need, like Via Honeybees with Tom and Melissa. They sit down there months in advance at the end of the year and write down a listing of what they need to buy and restock supplies, and then they pre-purchase all that as much as possible, I guess. And then when they go there, they got their product. They're working ahead of time. And they got things laid out,
Yeah. Hey,
and all that,
Pastor Larry.
and all. Yeah. And then there's Jack and Danette, and there's Brian. He's stocked up for the year.
Yeah.
Brian, did you get your new toy yet?
Hope's Honey, South Carolina.
Yeah, Ryan, there's going to be some 40-degree weather here in Maryland this week. Good weather to get in, especially Saturday.
Yep.
Were you thinking about coming up to the Maryland winter meeting, as they call it? Or is that kind of too far for you to come up? I know it's probably an hour and a half away. Most likely for me. I mean, with the amount of his highs, I'm sure he'll take advantage of the weather. He'd rather take the advantage of the weather.
Yep. Got to take advantage of the weather and make it when you can make it, right? It's like making hay. You got to make it while you can make it.
Well, Uncle Junior up there in New Jersey, you should be getting into the 40s there, I think.
Yeah, it won't be long.
You're not that far from me. Yeah, that's what I figured, Ryan. You're better off checking those hives out. I think you got, 75 or so. Get hives taken care of. The meeting ain't worth the
Yep.
travel. Ain't worth the travel going up there and back. I figured I'd wait till if I can get out of there and get back home by 1 o'clock or so. That in the morning it might be warm, but I won't be able to get into them after they close. We close anyway, so take off, go down there, listen to what they got to say, and go on home. And it's right around the Beltway of Baltimore, so ain't that far. 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
Now, Dot, you're up there in Maine. How many months out of the year do you really get to work your bees? I'm sure your bee season is compressed, kind of like Ian and all the rest of them up there. And yeah, we'll see you there, Tom.
Yeah, we'll be out there, Tom.
So that's what my plans are. I think I might get out there tomorrow and just kind of do a couple. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Matt.
We got up to 58 degrees out there today.
Cool.
He's right there at EMBA.
Yeah.
He's about I think a half an hour drive south of St. Louis.
Yeah. So Iowa Lane's beekeeper had 7 out of 12 of his flying today. That's not a bad thing. I'm sure they were flying here today too, this afternoon. Hey, Mike.
How many Iowa lanes, George? How many? What was the temperature out there in Iowa? Hey, Travis.
Is that Travis or Mike?
I think it's Travis.
Okay.
I forget what the distinction is there.
Yeah.
Got up to 64 degrees, George says.
Wow.
How?
That's pretty warm.
It's Travis.
It's Travis. Okay. James is having a heat wave. It's 23 now.
I'm tired of 16 degrees in the morning, and you get up to maybe 30.
Well, this morning here it was 0.
Really?
Yeah.
Was that 5 in the morning, or was that?
No, that's right around between 6 and 6:30. It was 0.
Yeah.
Yep. But it did hit 30 today. So
I think it was by 3 o'clock this afternoon. It was 30 to 33, let's say, and all that. But I was just I don't know, sitting here calculating the days out. Today is I fed last Monday, so it's been 7 days today. And if I go and wait till Saturday, it'll be about 12 days, which that's what it was the last time.
yeah.
And everybody else was, that fondant and the bee bites and all of that lasted at least 12 days.
Yeah.
And of course, it was pretty doggone cold too. There's going to be a couple 30 days, and most of them are right at 40 to 45. Most of the time it's right at 40 and all that.
Yeah, it's 26 here right now, Clay.
Sonia says it's 48 tonight. It's like 20 degrees right here.
Yeah.
Uncle Junior wants to know if you're going to treat a new nuke or a package mid-April or give them 2 weeks to settle in.
You don't want to, you got, for the packages, I'd say you got up to 3 months after you install them before you really need to treat them.
Yeah, I mean, now do you have drawn comb? That's the big question.
Yeah. If you put them on just plain empty comb, you've got up to 3 months before you need to treat them. A nuke of bees, I'd give them 3-4 weeks. Let them get settled in, then treat them.
I presume you're going to treat them with OA.
Yeah, treat them with OA. You don't want to throw Formic Pro on them right away.
No, they're too weak.
Yeah. But now a nuke.
Even that, you only got some, you might have 5 frames in that nuke, but 3 of them might be the only one that's populated with brood. So I wouldn't jump into treating anything right away.
No, I'd give them, like I said, 3 weeks or so, 3-4 weeks.
At least a brood cycle or 2.
Yeah. A couple good brood cycles in there.
Let them, to me.
Let them build up.
You got 5-frame nuke and you put it in a 5-frame box and then you put another, and then, they've got good size amount of bees in there.
Yeah.
I'd put another box of hopefully drawn comb on top of that. Or if you got foundation, put yourself a 1-to-1 sugar water bottle on top and let them draw that wax out. Let them populate that second box. Let them get them strong. And then, then do your OA vapor or something like that.
Yep.
He's got it all: comb, honey, plus pollen. I guess pollen in the frames.
I'd let them build out those 10 frames in that nuke box first before I put them in a 10-frame box.
I always like the nuke because they like to go straight up naturally.
Yep.
And that way you got 10 frames of good solid brood and bees.
Yep.
Then put them in a 10-frame box.
Yeah. Don't rush it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
If you take it, rush it like that, I think you're going to stunt the growth.
Yep.
On it.
It's going to really slow them down. Take your time with them. Let them build up. Let them get some brood in there. That way you got good, strong hives going into the summer. Barnhill Bees. Good to see you this evening.
Yeah. That's Keith out in Northeast Arkansas.
Yeah. I've been trying to get him on, Roy, and I'm going to continue to keep trying to get him on. It's hard to get him on here. I could maybe get I can't remember her name on here, but it's hard to get him on here. But I'll keep trying.
Well, Tom Nolan is with Formic Pro.
Yep. I should have said something again about it when I put my order in the other day. So, is your bee club going to need Formic this year, Charlie?
I'm sure they will. I don't know. I'll have to see where they're going to get. You have to put a bid in, I guess you would call it.
Yeah.
price it or whatever. First thing we got to do is we got to find out from the members. We put out a survey on how much of it we need, how much of it, all the different types of products that we will offer will need, and that kind of stuff. I'm not sure whether the old supplier is. I know he was stating that he was going out after this year. I'm not sure whether he's going out sooner or later. I'll have to find that out.
Well, James, my advice or my first question to you would be, number one, how strong is the hive, and what does the population of that hive look like?
He's got a single frame deep box.
He's got a 10 frame double deep.
Oh, double deep.
Yep.
Depends on how many frames of brood you got. If you got 6 to 8 frames,
you get one split out of it.
Yeah. If you're trying to make another 10 frame hive, as long as the weather's right, that's the big.
Yeah, that's the next. The other thing with doing a split like that is if you've got 8 frames of brood, then you make one split, and I would make it into a 5 frame deep and let them build out another 10 frames that way. Hey, Parrot Farms, how are you this evening? And then put them in a 10 frame box and let them go to town. But that's another situation where you got to judge your population against your brood, because you do have to populate that other box, and you got to keep that brood warm. So that's another thing to think about.
I always like, a lot of folks want to put 5 frames in a 10 frame box, and bees don't like to go sideways. And just 5 frame. I mean, if you really want to, that's where years ago when Michael Palmer he was the guy that came back and brought the idea of the 5 frame nuke box back in popularity. And, he talked about where they'll build up faster and all this other stuff. And it's true. You compress them into that 5 frame box, and I've often used this, I guess, an analogy, or actually my personal observation. You'll have the bulk of the bees on 5 frames in a 10 frame box. Then you got these lazy bees. They're out here on frame 7 or 8 out here. They're not doing anything over there. They're just hanging out. Like, heck, I'm not going over there to help either put food away or build wax or anything like that. And if you put those same bees in a 5 frame, you've manipulated those bees to put all their energy and all their attention to those 5 frames. And there isn't, any room for anybody to kind of like run off and hide someplace. All the bees have got to get to work. And so if you got, let's say, like you got a nuke that you bought, you put it in a 5 frame wooden box and then put another 5 frame box on top of that. They will go up there. They either need to draw wax. You'll feed them with some sugar water, some 1-to-1. They'll draw the wax out, and she'll lay it up before they get the walls of the wax already drawn to the correct height.
Yep.
And
all that. Exactly right.
I've seen that happen.
Yep.
And I think the eggs will be sticking up above the walls of the wax, or just right at the top of it. And then they'll continue on, and then they'll cap over.
Yep.
And it's a great way to take your nukes and make them your wax builders.
Yep.
You can get 5 frames of nice, fresh, drawn wax.
Yep.
It'll be brood wax for you, but if you need lots of, if you're trying to make expansion and make more splits, that doesn't matter. Let them make that brood wax. Let them, put, and I've done it myself. I got hives there that I had double deeps. I've had them at triple deeps. And it's like just put another box up on top, let them grow, let them get compact. You're
Yep.
making, and let's say put another, let's say 5 frames of just foundation up there. It keeps hit them with the sugar water. They'll draw it out, and then you actually have got. If you find the queen and want, most likely she's in the top box. She'll be in the top box. Take the top box off. Let's say the queen's up there. Have your setup over here where you want another hive. Let's say, and maybe it could be a 10 frame spot, but put the 5 frame nuke there. Put the 5 frame bottom board on there. That's the way mine are. Mine have bottom board just like a 10 frame. I have a bottom board, the boxes, the inner covers, and the tele covers for my nuke boxes.
Yep.
And you can pull off those 2 other boxes, put them on 2 other hive stands where you either want nukes or 10 framers put there, and either let them make sure each box has eggs in it. Let them either make their own queen because it's springtime, or going through the summertime, or find yourself some queens and let drop some either mated queens in, or like I say, let them make their own queens.
Yep.
And you don't have to put out any money that you just made. You made 2 more hives for yourself. It just takes time. And it's going to take that summer season to get that hive built up and into a 10 frame box.
Yeah, because you figure if they lay the egg and they hatch the queen, and by the time she gets back mated, that's 30 days.
Yep.
So then she's going to start laying, and it's going to take another 30 to 45 days to build the hive up. So there is your summer right there.
That's where you're
May and June and part of July right there.
Yep. So that's where, if you want to spend the $40, I'll say, for the queen, and put a mated queen in there, and the hive
cut it down by 30 days.
Yeah, the hive just costs you $40 instead of $200.
James, is not a bad idea as long as the double has the population to do it. Don't get too aggressive with it. Make sure you got the population to do it before you do that. Because that double screen board is like a fall split. And hopefully they will have enough to get through the winter. I'll be curious to know how it turns out for you, James.
Well, Eric, that's good. You're out there close to the mountains. It's 58 degrees. I think Brian was saying about the same thing out there. You guys have warm day. You'll be more warm days than you do have a few cold spell days out there. But that's your environment. You got to know your environment. Everybody's environment is different. What you do out there, I can't do here a lot of times, depending on the situation.
Right.
And out there, you might not. Brian talked about it was just became legal to be able to gather your roof water from the rain, which we look at that like what is the deal with that? But out there, when there's no, out there, stealing water is a big deal.
Yeah.
Around here doesn't really, we don't really care about it because we always get plenty of snow, plenty of rain, stuff like that. So. All that. Well, the link's up, everybody. If anybody wants to come in, I've pretty much got everything I know talked about. And all.
I know what they're waiting for, Charlie.
What's that?
They're waiting for part 2 on the queen rearing class. That's what they're waiting for.
Part 2?
Yeah. Remember, we started it last Monday night. So somebody sent me a comment through YouTube, and let me see if I can find it and figure out who it was.
Randall, where are you located at if you're at 50 degrees?
No, it was Grammy that made the comment. But the Queen rearing class every Monday night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I like queens.
Yeah, I do too. I love them. I like rearing queens.
I think it's the most fun part of beekeeping, actually.
Yep, keeps me out of trouble. Hey, Randall.
He's going to feed sugar water tomorrow. He wants to know. Well, 50 degrees. I look at it this way: if it's flying, if they're flying, you can feed them. That's my rule of thumb, because they're going to. If they were flying and they could find nectar, they would bring nectar in.
Yeah, but
now if it's going to be 20 degrees the next day, different story.
Exactly. Don't leave it on there overnight. Put it on there that day and then take it off that night.
You kind of have to.
You got to play it all by ear. Right now, everything's weather dependent.
Yeah, nothing's stable. That's the problem with our Southwest Virginia. I don't think your weather's all that stable.
No.
So, Randall, are you down around? Let's see. What was the town that you had?
You down around Withville, or are you down more up towards Roanoke?
I don't call Roanoke. I don't care. Roanoke's not Southwest, I don't think. But
It's considered Southwest.
Really?
Yeah.
Where are you at, Randall?
Todd, are you still in here?
He doesn't have a website.
Yeah.
Mount Airy, North Carolina.
Mount Airy, yeah, he's down there. He's in northwest Carolina. I know where Mount Airy's at. It's right across the Virginia state line. That's where Andy Griffith grew up, Mount Airy, North Carolina.
Oh, okay. I've been there.
Yep.
He's not just far. He's just south of Galax.
Yep. You're right on the state line.
Yeah, I've been down to Annie's museum and all that.
Yep.
I like to go down there at Andy Griffin Days or whatever it is.
Yeah, that would be fun. Mayberry.
Mayberry Days. Mayberry Days, they have a lot of fun things going on down there.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Randy, didn't you, weren't you selling honey and stuff on the sidewalks down there on Mayberry Days or whatever that one festival was? I think I seen a Facebook post on that.
I'm in Woodstock, Virginia, right off of 81, Randall. And Charlie's in basically Baltimore, Maryland. He's kind of northeast of Baltimore.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know whether, you got the main farm, which is 50 acres. Then you got the rest of the other farms that we do. And then my son, he rents a bunch of stuff. So he's got 100 acres. Time to do all that stuff.
We're pretty equal. Because we got the 2 farms here in Woodstock and then a bunch of land that we rent. So, hey, DC. So we're pretty even, pretty equal.
Hey, Roy. Um,
We're grain farmers, though. We're not hay farmers. We're not sod busters. We're grain farmers.
and sunflower seed farmers.
Yep, grain. That's grain.
You know, something back when I was in school, I guess it was in elementary school, and I guess it's terminology. And they were saying it was some kind of a science project where how much sugar and seeds do the humans eat, you know? It was
Yeah.
one of them, and the whole class just fumbled on it. And I think somebody else got the answer pretty close, but I think he was probably helped by his father or whatever to think about it in a different way.
Yep.
And what I was getting at was that he want, you know, it's you know, it's like these science things said that, you know, people eat so many pounds of beef a year, you know, they calculate an average of what humans eat and whatever. So anyway, they kept saying seeds. And I'm like, what? You know, I'm like, we don't eat seeds. And I couldn't get that, you know, and finally it's like, well, don't you, you know, use flour? I said, well, that's grain. That ain't seeds.
Yeah.
But that's what really grain is the seeds of the plants.
Yeah, that's right.
You know,
That's what
and
it is.
we don't think of it as seeds. We think seeds is what we plant in the ground, and grain is what we harvest, which are the seeds from the plants.
Yeah.
Moonshiners, Clay. Yeah, well,
Clay, you're closer to Tickle and that bunch down there than I am.
yeah, the moonshiners. Well, you know, that's some family.
Yeah, Clay is closer to that than we are.
What's that? Moonshine?
Moonshiners. He's
Yeah.
down there. He's down there in that neck of the woods.
Yeah. Well, can't say nothing about that.
Nope.
Might be some revenuers around.
Might be. You gotta watch what you talk about, Clay.
That's like Ricky Rourke down there. I found out. I said, I know where you live at, Ricky. I said, you live right close to my father's uncle's place down there. Well, they're all passed and gone.
Yeah.
And all that. And I forget, you know, down south, I find it quite interesting is that they don't refer to where they live by the town.
Nope.
They refer to where they live by the county. I don't know why they do that.
Yep. And then
to
break it down further, it's the county and the holla.
Yeah, but like my cousins down there in North Carolina around Hickory, well, yeah, they're over. Well, he's over there in Catawba County, and I'm like, that don't tell
That's
me.
a big county,
huh?
That's a big place,
you know. But it's like one of my relatives are all passed and gone. There, the story went was that she was riding on the local bus there around Boone, and the guy says, well, where are you from? You know, and he said, well, I'm from such and such a county, you know, right in that territory.
Yep.
And the guy said, I hear that's a lot of bootleggers over there in that county. And he says, I don't know nothing about it.
Yep.
And she knew all about it because the whole darn family was.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to watch what you talk about. Oil paintings. I bet you
Junior, I know you're an artist. You'll have to come on here and with a video camera and show us all your paintings. Hopefully they're bee paintings or something.
Yeah. There you go, Highland. It's not hollow, it's holler. Kaintuck holler.
That's Kuntuck.
Kaintuck. Did they take to it, DC?
What did he do? Move some?
He moved some bees into his Zanell hive.
Oh, he moved the whole over into it.
He moved 2 frames of bees into the Zanell hive with some food and sugar and added a sugar box on top. Sugar box fits great. That's a good thing. Good. I hope they do well for you there, DC.
They should. So anyway, what was our second part of our Queen class?
Yeah, everybody's waiting for me to finish talking about Queen class.
I guess. Well, let's see. Last week we were talking about making the cell builder.
Cell builders. Yeah.
And we put 6 pounds of bees in each one of them, I think.
Yep.
Extra.
On top of the bees that were already in there.
Yeah, and it was full to begin with.
Yep, it was full to begin with.
And then they all got in there that night because I think it got down around 40 degrees. It was cold.
Yeah, it was chilly that night.
It was chilly. It was real chilly. And then well, then we came back the next day, and I try to help teach grafting. And a lot of people had a lot of different ways, and that's a what do you call it? An art? No, a technique.
It's a repetitive technique.
Well, and sometimes I after that class last year, I came back and then I got to thinking about how to word it better, and maybe would have people to maybe understand how to do it. With you can talk about it, but you got to kind of just do it yourself.
Yeah, it could be considered a grafting style. Everybody has their own style / technique, the way they graft and the way they manipulate the tool and everything else. So, I mean, it all comes down to muscle memory, doing it the exact same way every time.
Well, the biggest thing is the first thing you got to figure is if you're as far as the tooling goes, is whether you like. I like the Chinese grafting tool. It's the easiest way of doing it as far as I'm concerned. Now, some people like a German tool. That was back in the day where you lifted the larvae up.
Yep.
Actually lifted it up, and then you had more, I think, chance of flipping it over and killing it. Now, down there in Georgia, that's what they do. They actually pick that larvae up and they prime the cups with royal jelly, and they take royal jelly, mix it up with some water, and then they take a dabber and they put a droplet in there, and all the dabber is a stick. It looks like about the size of a pencil, with it's kind of a long pointy with a dubbed over end, and they go into the well, bring it back up. There's enough liquid on there, and when they hit the bottom of that cup, it puts a droplet in there. That's all it is to it.
Yep.
And then they use a piece of hard copper wire that they mow and manipulate themselves.
Yep.
And well, I'm looking, yeah. He says plain yogurt is a real thing. Yeah, I've heard of that.
I've heard of it, but it's more like standing in the woods with a paper bag between your legs calling snipe.
But that's what they do down there every day, 7 days a week until the end of Queen season down in Georgia. That's how they do it. I've watched them. If you want to watch it, I have videos of that. Taking a trip to Georgia to Hardeman's
apiary,
and I got the girl there, and it's like bang 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 bang. She does it so much. She can do 15 she can do 30 to 40 cell cups minute and a half, couple minutes, maybe at the most. That's how good they are. And I'm not really sure what the accuracy level is, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty high. So they kind of laugh at us that we're using the Chinese grafting tool, but they're so used to that, it's fast for them. But grafting tool, Chinese grafting tool, the first thing you want to do, and Kent Williams showed me this, he'll be out at EMBA, is take and let me see if I find a pencil or a pen. Basically, take your thumb bring that tongue of that tool down on your thumbnail. If it bends across your thumbnail real easy, like perfect thickness, perfect flexibility. If it
Yep.
comes down or like a nail and it wants to go through your nail, your fingernail instead of flexing across,
Yep.
it's too thick, too rigid. That's where you gotta have to learn to take that tool apart and back drag it across a piece of sandpaper, like about a 300 or 400 grit sandpaper, real fine. Just back drag it until you get it to bend. Now, the idea about a Chinese grafting tool is that you're not lift. It used to be the German tool. You actually picked up the larvae itself. Chinese grafting tool, what you're really doing is picking up the jelly that the larvae happens to be laying in. And then when you scoot it off with that little plunger, you're scooting the jelly off along with that larvae kind of coasting or like sort of like surfboarding down with the jelly right into the middle of that cup.
Yep.
And now Kent Williams tried to tell how to mathematically by dates and stuff to figure out, find a frame, find the egg, come back in so many 3 days it's going to be hatched into a larvae, and you want it to be within 12 hours old is what they normally say. I tried that. There is no way, as far as I'm concerned, in my experience, that you can do that.
No, you can't.
You can't tell whether that egg has just been laid. They always talk about, well, if it's laid over like this, well, that's the second day. Third day is laid down, and within that day, it's going to hatch. You can't look at that egg and tell that. You can tell maybe when it's laid over. So
the first day it's standing up straight. The day it's laid, it's standing up straight. And then by the third day, it's laid over. And that's about all you can tell about the egg. You can't tell how old that egg is.
Well, I came back and I figured, okay, it's sitting straight up. Well, I don't think it was sitting straight up. It must have been, I'll say that it might be sitting straight up, but it's at the end of the first day, not at the beginning of the first day.
Yeah.
And hours. That's what you got to figure out. You can't figure that out. So when I came back, well, them larvae are big and fat, and you could see them. And I'm like, they're way, way too old. I'm a day or two too late. So what I came up with is when I go in there and I pick up a brood frame, the first thing, like Kent said, look for the eggs. So look for the band of eggs. Now look, if she's laying from the center of the frame out, you're going to have cat brood in the center. Then you're going to have big larvae, and then the larvae is going to get smaller to where you get all the way out to the outer edge, which is going to be eggs. If you look just inside there, my rule of thumb is look for jelly. Do you see jelly? Yes. Check one. Check two. Do you see any larvae or anything floating in that jelly with your, like for me, it would be with my glasses on and it's through your veil. If you say no, if you have a band of that where you can't see anything floating, but that holes are all filled up with jelly, they're your perfect grafting larvae right there, because it's less than 12 hours old. It's just this side of microscopic. And the only time you're going to see that larvae in there is with a set of magnification glasses. What I do is I have these glasses here have bifocals on the bottom. I take a pair of you can go to drugstore and get the 2X, the 1.5X. I usually have that kind of glasses. I put those on, which is for up close sight. And then I put my 1.5 magnification hood over those front of those glasses. And then I can see that larvae. And then the larvae is not a C. The larva is kind of like a wide, sort of like a banana, sort of
Mhm.
a real large arc. And then you want to come in on the back side of that arc where it's the curvature is with that um, Chinese grafting tool. Now, that's the next thing with the Chinese grafting tool. You got your tongue there, the tongue sticking out there, and of course your jelly is going to be up on top of the tongue when you get done. It's a blind pick. It's like throwing a dart. That's how your arm is. So you go in there and you get your tongue on the outer wall of the wax.
Yep.
And then by looking in there this I'll say that the larvae is sort of like a C. I'm going to make my hands like a C so it's better understood. And you're going to come, let's see,
If the larva is laying like this, you're going to come down that cell wall like that, and that tongue's going to curl under that larva like this, and
Yep.
you're going to pick straight up.
Well, you're going to come and it's going to go down the wall with the tongue. You're going to look at it. All right. Don't worry about trying to see the larvae. You know that the curve is there. So you're going to let that tongue blindly go down the cell wall. It's going to scoot across the bottom of the comb, and it's going to bump into the other wall. And when it does that, then just pick that tool right straight up, kind of up, and you're going to pick it up and out on an angle to make it flatten out so it doesn't slide off. And it's not going to slide off because it's sticky. And you can sit there with your magnification. You can look on the tongue right there and you can see the jelly and you can see the larvae too.
Yeah.
But it's more of a blind thing. You're just going to slide it down and the tongue's going to do the work. It's going to slide across the bottom of the cell, hit the other wall. After it hits the other wall, just pick it straight up.
Yep.
And then up and out on an angle, so it doesn't slide if there's any ability. And then when it comes to the cup, what I do is I take that tongue and I kind of do it in reverse. I put if this is the bottom of the cup, I go down and I kind of put it on an angle towards the opposite wall, not touching the wall. And I sort of put it almost in dead center or a little bit off dead center of the cell cup, the plastic cup. And I'm holding it with a index finger on the plunger. And you're pushing the plunger down and pulling the pin up. You're actually pulling the pin up with the plunger being pushed down with your finger, and you're bringing that tongue across the bottom of that cup. And as you're coming across the bottom, when it gets to the center of the cup, that jelly should be just about ready to flop right off. And because the plunger's pushing it off, and you're kind of back dragging, and you're kind of bringing it when you get to the center, you're kind of almost center, sort of almost vertical. But by that time, the jelly is scooted off in the middle of that cup. And that's how you get it there. And usually, and then before you get all, there's always the thing about prep work. Before you ever even start, like if you're going to go out and grab a frame this afternoon after work, you can do this after work. You go out there, you don't need to do it in the middle of the day, or, I set my kitchen up on the kitchen table. You set up your some people do it in their truck. I like a little more convenience. I got the frame set up. I got the grafting bar set up with the cups. I've got all my tools set up, my magnification unit sitting there ready to go, put together. All I got to do is put it on my head. And then the other thing is get yourself a nice, like a cotton towel, take it over there to the sink, get it wet, put it in your microwave. Instead of using hot water, just put it under cold water, then put it in your microwave and put 20 seconds on there. You'll have to figure that out depending on how big your cotton cloth is. Now it's warm and it's moist. Then when you start grafting, then you cover up your cup with that warm, moist cow. It keeps that larvae warm and it keeps it moist. And you keep going down the row until you get done. And if you're doing 2 bars, what I usually like to do, put the 2 bars, I only do 2 bars, which is 30 cells. I put the 2 bars side by side. I fill each cup on each bar and I keep advancing my cover, the warm towel, warm, wet towel.
Yep.
Then I get done and I put those, turn your cell bar upside down so the cups are sticking up, stick them in that frame, the 2 of them that I use. And then I usually drape, I have a hand towel. I drape that over to keep it as warm as possible. And I keep the cells up so they don't fall out or get shook or whatever. And then I run out there in my pickup truck. Usually I have that cell frame in my hand, using my hand as a cushion, and drive on out there and get out of the truck and open up the hive if it ain't already opened up, and put the cell bar in there. One side is going to have a pollen frame. And the other side is going to have a nectar frame, not a honey frame, a nectar frame.
Nectar frame.
That way they can utilize that nectar right away, along with the pollen, to make that worker bee to generate, or actually a nurse bee to generate the mandibular Farrow glands in order to generate royal jelly. They're put in there and feed that. They're going to feed royal jelly for the whole thing. And then you'll get in there. If you go in there, I'll say, and that's another thing that I do, is I don't care. They'll say it's 9 days until they cap. Day 1, 2, and 3, who cares? That's when the egg was laid, and that was when the egg was hatched into a larvae. Those days are gone. The day I put that frame in that cell builder is day 1 for me.
Yep.
Count out 6 days from that day, and
that's 9 days.
Yeah, 6. You got 7, 8, 9. But I look at it this way: don't make it confusing.
No, make it simple.
Make it simple. Count 9 days out. So if you graft, you can go and graft on a weekly basis. And I can, if we grafted, let's say we grafted on a Monday today. Let's say if today was the right kind of weather, and I got to create a chart. So we grafted on a Monday. For me, that's day 1.
Mm-hmm.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Be Saturday.
Saturday, the cells are going to be capped. If you grafted on a Tuesday, they would be capped on a Sunday.
Yep.
It depends on what your schedule's like. If you have Saturdays off, do it on a Monday, and you can go out there on a Saturday and put them, they'll be capped. And what I normally do is I put those cells in the incubator and I finish them out in the incubator. And I put them in the easy peasy cages. And if you put them in the incubator on Saturday, then on. So then you start not Saturday, but you start that Sunday. The next day would be day one, and then this is where I start the calendar over again for myself. It makes it easy for me to understand. So Sunday would be day one, and then you got Tuesday is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if you put them in there on Saturday, 7 days later, counting that would be Sunday, would be day one. The next Saturday, they will be emerging. But what I would do is on a Thursday, 2 days prior, because you can't time it that close, I would be putting them cells into a mating nuke and let them hatch out naturally into that mating nuke. And that's how I do it. Now, this year, I let them hatched out in the incubator. Actually, I put them back in a banking frame with easy peasy cages. I let her hatch out back in the cell builder, and they were fed right away. If you leave them in the incubator, they're going to die. You're going to lose a bunch because they'll starve to death.
Yep.
And so I did it that way. And then I tried to introduce those virgins after I marked them. Then I put them in a candy cage, a normal queen cage with a little bit of candy. I talked to Mark Miller here. He's, how do I care for emerging queens? I let them emerge in a cell builder, in a cage. So let the bees take care of them.
Yep.
I found that to be, you'll have a higher number of success.
Yes. If you're going to put them in an incubator, Brian, you have to know what day and time they're going to emerge, so you can be there to make sure that they get fed, unless you put a little bit of food in there with them down in the bottom, but you still have to get them out and put them in a mating nuke as soon as possible so that they can be fed properly.
Well, I found it to be,
You're welcome, Tim.
I found you can put food in there. I found that if you left them to merge into the incubator, you're making multiple trips, let's say on the hour, every hour you're going down there, and you'll find one or two. Then you're going to have to get in there and tear the cup off, because they'll stick their head up into that cup. They get stuck because they're so hungry. They're eating the royal jelly in there, and then they get stuck, and then they die. And I found putting them back into the cell builder hive along with the other cells, the bees will take care of them. But what I found,
Peabody's comment, he's spot on with it. The real work is when you make up a mating nuke or a cell builder, you have to make sure that there are no other queens or grafted queen cells in there that may have been an empty egg showing or something. When you put that frame of capped root in there for additional nurse bees, they will draw a queen cell on it.
Yep. So this year I tried to, I found it nice. They came out in the cell builder in their cages. Here you got all these 28 queens out of the 30 that worked fine. You take them back into the house. You pull them out of those cell cages, those easy peasy cages. You mark her. You don't have to fight any other bees around you while you're marking her in your hand. I just kind of, I let her straddle this finger, and then I take the thumb and the index and kind of hold her in place so I can sit there and dot her. And then I put her in a candy cage. Now, Mark Miller said don't fill the big tube all the way up. Fill it up maybe enough that they release her within 6 hours, let's say, 4 to 6 hours. I didn't do that. And then I had issues of them wanting to get, accepting that queen and all that stuff. So I don't know why this camera's getting all wacko. Accepting the queen was one of my issues this year. And so next year, or this year actually, I will be putting the cells. I will incubate the cells within 2 days of them hatching. And then I will put those cells in the mating nukes that I will have filled with bees and comb.
Pre-populated.
Pre-populated. That's another thing that, I'm still kind of having to learn how to be successful with that. Sometimes the bees like to fly back and whatever. I think the big thing of it is trying to find brood that's capped, ready, near ready, or almost ready to merge. Have those bees in that hive, let them come out, lock them up for 3 or 4 days, and then open them up. And then they're, okay, this is our new house, because we don't know anything different. And in the meantime, put a cell in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they accept that queen much better, and she's not marked. I've had different people say being a marked virgin doesn't matter, but I'm not sure about that. I think maybe the smell of that marking has something to do with it. Possible. Yep. So
I'll find out this year, because I'm going to mark some and not mark some and just see which ones, which way.
I know that when I was doing queens 4 years ago on a regular basis, my acceptance rate was 80 to 90%, but that's when I dropped cells into my 2-frame mating boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got them. Once you get that first queen in there, let her lay, now of course my mating boxes I made myself. They're 2-frame and they hold 2 full-size frames. So there's room for them to lay. And I let them lay that up, let that brood hatch in there. And that brood doesn't know anything but to stay in that little mini hive. And then you can pull her out and cage her when you have a sale for her, and you can sell them as fast as you can make them and get them made. He's Sonia. You didn't know. I don't mark the virgins. I don't.
Wow.
What?
I'm just looking at overwintered breeder queen prices. Whew. Man, they really jumped.
Yeah, Ryan, I do the same problem. I like to go in there and see whether I can find a virgin walking around, and that's not something that you want to do. You want to leave that. You want to put that cell in there, and you want to leave that hive alone for a week or two, or at least they always told me 2 weeks. That way she can go out, get mated, and come back. And all that stuff. So that's one of the things. And then I know what Sonia wants to know how much they are. $1,500 for breeder queens, or what are they all talking about?
Yeah, breeder queens, Latchaw breeder queens. $1,015 a piece.
$1,015 or $1,500?
$1,015 a piece, and they're artificially inseminated.
Yeah, Brent, they're artificially inseminated,
and they're overwintered.
So I mean, they're wore out?
No, they're just overwintered queens.
But so that's my setup plan for this year. I'm going to go back to kind of what I've been doing with cells. I think the biggest problem I had this year was I got used to doing the cages, which were nice, but I got kind of lazy on trying to set up the darn mating boxes. And the ones I did set up didn't work out very well. And they didn't. The ones that worked out good were the ones that the queens got mated and came back and started making a hive there. And they got used to those bees stay there. And I think that it boils down to letting that queen emerge out of that cell like it's natural. Another tip, when you take that queen cell on that cup, don't place it between the two frames up top unless you got a lot of bees. Place that queen cell and just kind of tuck it in right alongside some cap brood. That way, if it gets a little chilly that night, the bees will cluster around that cap brood and that cap queen cell if it's within those first 2 days and all that. And then I've seen some videos of mine I did this year about transferring the cells from into those JZBZ cages and things like that. And I thought about it while I was trying to make the video, and I'm trying to make the video and try to do a lot of different things at the same time. And I was pecking that bar with those cells on there. Well, that little bit of just peck like that, nothing dramatic, just a small little hit on that bar. It dislodges the larvae from the jelly up in the top. And that's a dead cell. And you just lost all the time and effort put in. You're done. Hey, Robert. Well, that's what about Uncle Junior there is that I tell everybody who's a brand new beekeeper, beekeeping is a science experiment that never quits. If you're a beekeeper, you must be a lifelong learner because you will never learn everything. You are constantly learning. I don't care if you got 20 years in, there's always something to learn. The bees will learn or teach you something on how they do things. That's why I go to a lot of conferences. Hey, Russell. And all that. So that's what I'm planning on doing. I will plan on making some more videos, step-by-step type of videos as far as the cell builder goes. And, well, cell builder, grafting, and everything. I'm not sure if, when it comes to grafting, I'll show my setup. I don't think I have enough hands actually to be able to go down in there and show me grafting, in the cup and all that stuff.
Yeah.
No, what I was telling you about is that I was transferring the cocoon queen cell from the bar to the cup. And let's say the bar slipped out of my finger and it fell, let's say no more than 2 inches and hit a container box or something laying on my little makeshift table. That little jarring of that cell, that the larvae is up in the top, or larvae's up in the cocoon close to the jelly and feeding on that jelly. And now remember, they just capped the cell. So she hasn't formed all the way. So I put her in an incubator to keep her warm. You don't need to be fed anymore because she's capped. But if I jar that cell the least little bit, the larvae that's feeding on that jelly will drop away from the larvae. They don't have any legs or anything to crawl back. And that larvae will die. Yep.
It'll starve to death.
Well, all you gotta do is break it open within so many days and it'll be like a black mush. Is what it looks like. Handling the cells, you got to handle them they're more sensitive than handling eggs. I'll put it to you that way, like a chicken egg or anything
Yeah.
like that. You got to handle them so gingerly that you can't bump them around or shake them or any of that kind of stuff. Now, but it sounds bad as far as hard, but it's not. It just means you have to be super careful and all. So I mean, for next year, I'll take that cell bar out, or this year, I mean, out of the cell builder. A lot of people say, well, you can leave it in the cell builder. Yes, you can, and the bees will keep it warm. The problem I found in past years is that that's why I have an incubator, is the fact that when you got two cells sticking down like that, they will draw comb, or as we call it, webbing between the two.
Yep.
You try to break that cell off of that bar without, you got to take a razor blade and cut that webbing away from that. And if you don't, it tears the side of the cocoon out. You just lost all your work again.
Yep.
So that's why I pull after 6 days. I don't allow them to have that webbing in there. I put them in an incubator. It saves all that aggravation.
Yep.
And what I'll do is instead of me taking them off the cell bars, I'll most likely just leave them on the cell bars, hang that frame up in my incubator. I'll put a medium box up there, or maybe a deep box, and let that frame hang there. And the cells will, pupate inside and get all ready to come out. 2 days before they are getting ready to come out, I will take them out and put them. What I normally do is I take them off that bar. I have an egg carton, and I put each cell in an egg carton. And then I close the egg carton up, and then I carry that out and put those cells in the 2-frame mating boxes. Now there's a lot of folks. I've seen it down there at Nobby down there. They had a heated, battery operated, heated cell carrier, it keeps the cells warm. And I don't know, they wanted $500 or $600 for that darn thing.
Yep.
And I don't see I find the cells are a little bit more tougher than what everybody thinks they are.
That's correct, Brent.
Huh?
I was talking to Brent on here. He's correct in his statement.
It's not really floating on top. It's there. I don't know how.
For lack of a better word, yeah.
But it by the time it's capped, that was one of the questions, and maybe you can answer this. I found that if you look at these JZBZ cups, the shoulder of that cup will be filled. If it's filled properly, it's completely filled, and you can see the jelly in there. I'll say, for the lack of words, it'll be white up there. But if you got a red cup, it ain't going to be. You can tell it's darkened all the way down.
Yeah.
If that cup is
you can tell the cup is full.
Then that's got plenty of food in there. But now, by the time that they're capped, I think the cup is not as full. They've been eating on that.
Yeah.
And so it's not as full when you put it in an incubator. But now, one thing that I've done is I've gotten the queen out of that cup, or that she's hatched. I'll say that. I've taken that cup and then I've tear down the side walls of the cocoon. And then I looked into the bottom of that cup, and that cup's got like a little bit of an indentation about the size of a racer head. And normally, if you had plenty of jelly, that little indentation still has a little bit of jelly in there if she just hatched out. So that tells me that she had plenty of food to get the best nutrition in order to make the best nutritional queen for you.
Yes.
That's some of the things that that you do.
And the other reason that it's so important that they be fed is because when they turn around with eyes up, they're not eating anymore.
Now there is her mouth is down towards the tip of the cell.
While her mouth is turned down until she develops to the point where she's developing eyes and everything, then that larva flips and the eyes come up
Mhm.
and she's upright for the last day and a half, 2 days before she emerges. That's the other reason they're so hungry and it drains them so bad when they emerge because they haven't eaten in a couple days.
Right. So,
And another little tip when you're grafting is if you have a really strong light
oh
and
yeah,
you're
that was another tool that I have. Is
looking down in the cell with that light and you see what in that royal jelly what looks like a string of pearls, that's the larva.
yeah, because you can actually see the ridges.
Yes.
But yes, that was another part of my toolbox that I have is I have an LED. Go to the hardware store or go to the drugstore. You can pick a pack of, I think, two of them up for a lot of times $5 or $10, and they're the ones that are about 3 inches long. You push the button on the end, they're kind of disposable, but you can sit there and go back and forth and you can make that larvae glisten with that light
Yep.
and you can see it so much better. And that's where you slide that tongue of that tool down the sidewall. You don't need to see it after you kind of get you got to look at the larvae to see where you want to put your tool at. Is it if it's on a rack, you're either going to go in the bottom, is it off to the side this way, is it off the side the opposite way, or is it from the top?
Yeah.
You have to see where the curvature is so your tongue can go down and get it and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's part of my toolbox also.
And see, I have a
Yep.
plastic German tool that I use that I like, and I have a stainless steel German tool that I use. And I've been more successful with a German tool than I have been with the Chinese tool.
Right. Um, it just whatever you get used to.
Yep, and it all goes back to muscle memory on the operation and the manipulation of the tool. That's muscle memory. But the other side of it is finding the right age larva, making sure you see it, and then putting the tool in there. Don't put the tool in there and then look for the larva. It's too late.
Yeah. Um, Now I was just looking. All right, so it's a larvae. Um, and this thing, uncapped cell larvae, is at day 4 through 8. And pupa, which would be something that looks like a bee, but it's still white looking, starts at day 9, which,
Yeah, that's when they capped it.
yeah, day 9 would be the cap. So when you graft in there on day and on my quote day 1, it'll be she'll reverse over somewhere's around day 3 or 4, I guess it would be in my in my way of looking at it.
Well, if you use your time frame, so day one, and they're capped
On day 6,
on day 6. So she's probably going to flip.
day 3,
No, later than that.
day 4.
I would say she's going to flip between day 5 and 7. She's going to flip because
So
she's developed enough.
what I was kind of getting at is if she's in there, she's feeding on the top, and then when she gets done feeding, she's going to turn around this way where her head will be at the bottom of the cell. So is that, if I'm grafting her on my day 1, and they're capped on day 6, so you got 6 days there.
All right.
I don't know. I'm not sure unless they do all that and at the latter end.
So she's a larva for 8.5 days. So it would be 5.5 days that she's a larva. And then
so if it's 5.5 days, and they're counting from day 1, right? From the true day 1.
No, it's 8.5 days counting from day 1 of egg. So it's take 5 off of it, take 3 off of that. That's 5.5 days. And then the cell is capped for an additional 4 days. And she turns into a pupa.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot about that.
Would be at day 9.
Yeah, because I'm taking her out on day 6. So she's capped, but she's still a larva eating.
Yes.
And then you're putting her in for another 7 days in the incubator before she she will eat out, or she will hatch on 7. So by the time she's in the incubator is when she gets done eating and flips around to where her head's at the bottom.
Yeah, her head will be at the top at day 9. Will be up.
Now,
and then she's a pupa for 7 days.
Yeah.
And then they hatch 16th day as emergence.
Yeah, Brent Wills. Yes, you can leave the queen cell in the hive and use that as a incubator. But you got to be there. You can't let her hatch out in that hive. If she does, they will kill. If you got 10 cells in there and one queen hatches first, they will kill all the other queens that you have grafted. That's the problem. Also, with that, after day 6, my day 6, the day I put her in there as a when I put the grafting bar in there, 6 days later, those cells are capped. After that, if you leave them in there for let's say you're going to leave them in there for 5 days, 2 days prior before they hatch out, most likely they are going to draw wax. They're going to encapsulate wax around the cells, in between the cells and around the cells, to the point you can barely see the cells. Then you got to sit there and very cautiously saw the wax away from them cells. You kind of have to trim the cells down because there's so much wax on there that it's going to be very hard for that queen to hatch. I had that happen, and I'm like, this is for the birds. I'm not going to do this. I pull them out on day 6. There's no wax between the cells.
Right. But the cell,
now in the incubator, you can do a couple things. I made an old refrigerator. I made the top part of the refrigerator, which was the freezer. I put a heat lamp in there. I put water in there. I put a fan in there to circulate the humidity around and the heat around. And that's my incubator. Or you can go to Tractor Supply. I don't know how much they cost, maybe $40. And you can buy one of them little styrofoam egg incubators that doesn't have the egg turner and all that fancy stuff in there. And it'll do the same thing. It just putting in an incubator makes it a lot easier on the queen beekeeper. That's right, Sandy. Like Sandy or Matt says there, be prepared that the darn queen, you don't know whether that one egg is 12 hours old when you grafted or was it 6 hours old grafted. And
Yep.
that means whether that egg or that larvae or that queen, the one might hatch, it says, oh, we got 2 days before the hatch. Maybe you do, and maybe you don't.
Maybe you don't.
You don't know. It might hatch the next day. It might hatch in 2 days. You don't know. That's why you give yourself a big error margin and all that stuff. I had one guy come in, needed a queen, and I'm giving him a cell. I keep all my, if you go to like let's say a Coke cup or something like that, or like a little cup from the cup manufacturers, I take a paper towel and I wad it up and I put it in the bottom of that paper towel. And then I take that cell and you keep the cell down and put it in that paper towel to try to keep, to cushion it, keep it warm.
Yep.
And I get a text from the guy. I said, now I told him when he left here, I said, it's going to hatch today. That's what the numbers say. Can't guarantee it, but that's what he's going up the road. Guess what? The queen hatch as he's going to his yard to put the cell in. And he asked me, what do I do? I said, take and walk her in the front door, and let her, and she'll mate. Most likely will mate. Yep. She's that fresh.
Yep. So Rob House had a good question or statement, and he brought out something that not a lot of people think about. Is he wanted to know if I prime cells. Now, I do prime cells as the season drags on, because as the season goes on, it becomes less and less and less and less royal jelly in the cells. And you need to make sure that she has enough royal jelly to get through to the point where when she flips, she's got enough food. Yeah. If you don't, she's not going to develop in the cell and she'll never flip. So royal jelly is available on the market, and it is true royal jelly, and you can buy it. So it's harvested and you can purchase it. But it is a good idea as the season goes on. That way, she's got enough. So, does anybody else in here that rears queens, do they prime their cells as the season goes on? Yes, Clay, I have some in the refrigerator and it tastes pretty good. At first, it's got a little bit of a bitter taste to it, but as it warms up, it tastes a little bit better. But you've got to keep it refrigerated. You can't just let it sit out. It'll go bad. And it does have a shelf life of 2 years. What were you? How to what a queen? How to kill a queen? Is that what you're asking me, Ryan? That's simple. That's really simple. You're not picking the egg, Parrot Farms. You're picking the larva. You're picking the youngest larva you can find. So, and there is a difference between too much and not enough. And as you start doing it, you'll come on in here, Rob. It's getting close to 10 o'clock. Go into why 3 days. At 3 days, that egg is hatched. And that larva is laying in that jelly. You don't want an egg. You want a larva. You want the youngest larva you can find. And like I said, if you're looking at it with a real bright light, it looks like a string of pearls laying in there. So explain how you harvest royal jelly, Rob.
So anytime I'm going to do grafting, I will do, I guess what you call a mock graft. So I'll set up my starter colony, and then I may graft just 5 or 6 cells, and then I put them in there, and then I will go back in 24 hours. And in 24 hours, they generally have that cup fairly full of royal jelly, and that larvae is just floating in there. So I go in and actually pull the larvae out and discard her, and then I'll go in with a like a little, I don't know, like a miniature, like I have I don't know, it's a stainless steel, like a dental tool, but it looks like a little spoon, and I scrape all that royal jelly out, and I put it in a little cup, and if you do that, you'll get enough royal jelly that's fresh royal jelly out of those 6 cups that you can turn around and prime 45 cups to do your actual grafting into. And then, a lot of times people have a hard time getting the larvae to stick because, like, if they're using a Japanese grafting tool, maybe they didn't get underneath.
That's the problem. Because I'm supposed to use a Chinese, not
yeah. So, but they're cheaper that way, Charlie. And but you, or if you're not on a heavy flow, there's not going to be a lot of royal jelly there. So so when you can pick that larvae up and you can drop her down and you put it in that royal jelly that you've primed with, it makes it extra sticky. And then she just automatically will stick to that, and then she's already right on food, so there's no real disruption. And I think what I have found too is when you have something like that, she doesn't dry out. A lot of times you put a like a washcloth that you run under hot water and squeeze the most of the water out of it and drape that over your grafts to keep it warm and to keep it from drying out. But if you have that royal jelly in there, that keeps that larvae moist, and and you don't get that big disruption, and they do well. They do well, So that answer your question there, Bill?
Yeah. So that's how Rob harvests, but I use a syringe with a blunt needle on it, and I'll suck it out of the cell after I remove the larva when I harvest.
So what do we got? What's our how's your knee or whatever it is, your leg, Rob?
It's getting good. Yeah, it's been really good. There's a couple of real tender spots in the front, but I'm able to walk on it.
Did you get operated on or whatever? Or?
I did not. I chose to put it off because of so they would have got the surgery scheduled. The recovery time would have been over when I'm taking my trips to Georgia, and the doctor agreed that he didn't think a 12, 13-hour one-way vehicle ride would be good for that knee. Too stiff, and so I'm going to postpone it for now till maybe end of fall, and then get it done.
What's it, A1C or something? ACL or whatever it is.
Meniscus. Yeah, torn meniscus.
Yeah. Now we go back to I think Brett Wells was the one talking about, you can keep your cells in the cell builder. You can put them in cages like this. This is a hair roller cage. Here's the cell. And you just put it in there. Now, does it fit that cell tight? No, it doesn't. It just sits on there. I don't.
Yep.
Bring me up a little closer, Bill.
Hang on 1 second. There you go.
There it is. The cell. There's the cell. There's the cup. You can put it in there like that. And it'll stay there. It's just got enough wax around it. It'll kind of stay in there as you kind of push down in on it. Now, the problem with this is trying to keep it from falling over.
Yeah.
Now I have down in the bay, I should have brought them up here. I had test tube holders that you could, and I think it was a 33 millimeter test tube holder or 30 millimeter, and it would fit down in there. This little flap that holds the bottom cap on. There's the cap. Flips up like that. That little tab on the end there that holds that up gets in the way, but you put that in the corner and you can put them down in there like that. And I made one time I made a block of wood, got rid of that, got these here test tube holders and all that. Now, this past year, I got the Easy Peasy cage. There's the hole in the top, hole on that side, hole on this side. You see these ears right there. They're designed to fit around that little edge right there, the cup edge. You can put these in there and they snap in just like that. They will not fall out. This thing has a tray that you can put 30 or 40 of these in this tray inside your incubator. Also, if you have a JZBZ cell bar, which is plastic, so you have the cell and this little button or tip that sticks out like that, that hooks onto that bar. Well, these cages with this here shoulder here, you can stick that cage on that bar and over top of the cell without even taking the cell off the bar in that cell builder. And then you can move that. If you're grafting in the next week, you can move that bar out of the center and put it off to the side if you got a big enough hive, and then put another grafting frame in. But this will actually hang on a JZBZ cell bar. Or what I did was I took the cell that's in there. I have a frame with it has a trough, and all these things fit on the trough, and I can put, I think, 15 or 20 of them. Like 15, I think there was 20. Yeah, it was 15 of them, and then 15. There's like, if you had a deep frame, you could put 3 of these bars in there that could hold all these things in a line. And then all you have to do is you pick them up, you look through the cage holes to see whether the queen is walking around in there, and she'll be fed when she comes out of the cocoon by the bees and all that. So you can put me back down. So that's multiple ways of doing it. I really like these easy peasy cages. They fit and they, what would you say, fit together with as far as one company versus another. But that's what Don did by making sure they would be interchangeable and that kind of thing.
I've seen guys do similar with a 3-hole cage, or even what they call a California mini, where they take a drill bit and they drill the one end out larger, and they drill it out large enough that you can drop a JZBZ cage, queen cup in there. So once that cell's capped, you can just slide it down in there, and it works the same way Charlie's talking about, so that when she hatches right into that 3-hole cage, and then the queen cup becomes the plug for the cage at the top, and the bees can still feed them. That's for the cheap beekeepers that don't want to spend money on brand new JZBZ cages.
Yeah, and the California cages, they make a frame now to where they can sit back to back in that frame. So you've got opening on this side, opening on this side. And you got 2 cages that are sitting back to back. And it's like, if it's a deep, I think it's 3 bars high. If it's a medium, it's 2. So they're refining the way queens are done and kept. And it's also called a banking frame too. So.
Yeah, or like I say, for me, I'm just going to take them out of the incubator, put the cells in a mating box, and let it go.
Yeah. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, it's 10 o'clock. If you've enjoyed tonight, smash that like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. It keeps us all hanging around a little bit longer. So, Tom, Melissa, you know what to do if you want to talk some more. And Tuesday night is Tom Mack's show. Friday night is
me.
Charlie. This week on Thursday night is Todd's late night show with Brian. And Saturday night is Joey. And then I'm back on Monday. So everybody have a good week.
We will be on next Monday, right?
Yep.
And next Friday I will not be on. I'll put up a post before I leave.
Yep.
I'll be in St. Louis having a good time with all my friends here from the chat.
Yeah, we'll all be there together. So we don't need to have a chat next weekend.
That's right. We'll have our own chat, and we'll be all in person.
Yep. And maybe Charlie will do the jig. So
who knows? Maybe I'll put a live out. Maybe I can get my phone to practice on that.
Yeah, there you go. So we will see you all as the week goes on. Be safe.